think you know anything about Harry Styles.
Our communities.
Don't talk about it again. So I told y'all so.
Our culture.
I am a Sam Smith. I will be Sam's representative.
Our stories.
It's also not a requirement for you to agree.
Our opinions.
This is the Culture Report.
Welcome to this week's Culture Report. It's a packed house today. We have some special guests joining us. So welcome us back to his guest co-host, Shay J. So welcome back.
Thank you.
And Daily Blast Live co-host Erica Cobb is here to talk about that intersection of Black culture and podcasts. So welcome back too. Thanks for coming back and visiting.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here.
Whole lot to get into, so let's just dive right in it. So, One thing about today's youth is many aren't afraid to use their voices. That certainly holds true for a group of young women in Colorado. So we had a chance to sit down with them and learn all about an initiative that they developed in order to share their points of view and educate their peers and some adults too.
No justice, no peace, and unrestricted revolution. I know, especially as a student, sometimes it could be very hard to use your voice. Not a lot of students' voices are being recognized or being really appreciated or prioritized within either the district, within their schools, or just adults in general. Even though you're an adult and you have wisdom and you have things to bring to the table, so do we. When you're young, you have that passion, you have fire, you want to do something. And a lot of times with the society we live in, it dies down as you get older.
Every single generation sees things differently and they're going through different experiences. And our generation, like what is going on right now, we have a lot of just chaos and disorder.
No Justice, No Peace as a brand started a little bit over 3 years ago after we took a trip to Washington, D.C.
It was 17 students, but after that, I swear we became like a family.
And just being able to see representation of myself within that museum, learning that there's more to just African Americans than slavery. There's so much beyond that, and how we used to be kings, queens, how we were powerful leaders, and so forth. That is something that I really wanted other students to know.
I was not gonna let up on the dream of bringing these feelings back to our community.
And over the summer, events during 2020.
When George Floyd had passed away, we had a lot of students that were trying to go to the protest, and my dad was not going for any of that. They barely would let me go to Walgreens during COVID.
So we came up with another way we could use our voice, and that led to the podcast.
Not everybody is really fit to do this work, because it can't be about clout or wanting to have your face and your name out there. You need to be trying to carry on the legacy that our ancestors put out there for us.
How do you feel about seeing youth use this medium to raise awareness about modern day issues and things like that?
Encouraged, very encouraged. We've seen the evolution of media in general. We've seen the evolution of how people are using their platforms, and what we're seeing are young people who are deciding that not only is their voice important, but it must be amplified, and they're willing to put in the work themselves. I'm looking over here at my girl Shay J, who does the work in our community. We lean on her heavily to be a thought leader and amplifier, and this is where it starts. When I first started in media, really my story started when I was 12 years old, and I was making my own shows in my bedroom at home. So there is an end game to this, and I think that watching them, it makes me so excited, because it feels like, wow, this is going to be the future of this movement.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, and I love it. And when you mentioned Shay, I know you're, like you said, very involved in the community. I saw that Bo helped these girls, offering them the space.
Absolutely.
After they cut ties with DPS, they lost that space to be able to record their podcast. But us as community members, what can we do to actually encourage more youth voices and promote it?
Excellent question. I think it goes to what Erica said. It's about actually having a space, right? Like Erica, when I was young, I was already having this whole conversation with my teddy bears, right? And nobody else was listening. But we have to create spaces for young people to actually be able to use their voices, whether it's community events, whether it's networks saying, hey, we have a space for you to talk about your perspective. We have to start making these spaces aware that youth voices matter.
Absolutely. And Erica, you have a NAACP Image Award nominated podcast, so we love that.
So what was the process for you growing up to develop your voice?
Well, I mean, I think there was a lot. First of all, I'm very fortunate to have had a network in the form of my parents who really instilled in me that I could do whatever it is that I believed I could do or wanted to be. And the other thing is I talk about this on my podcast with my sister. I'm doing bonus episodes called Comeback Conversations with my sister. And we're really talking about like who knows us better than we know each other.
Right.
And one of the things that she says is like, oh no, I remember being 7 years old and like sitting in your room because you had me be a guest on your radio show. Like with the hangers and all of that. So I think from that, knowing that I like had a passion for speaking to people, for connecting with people, for emoting. And then I found my purpose when other people started to connect and emote with me. And that's a very powerful connection. It's something that I do not take for granted. To have a following and people who really believe in not only you, but your message and want to see that amplified and elevated is just something very special.
I love that. And you actually, if y'all haven't heard it, y'all have a chance to see it live soon, coming up Juneteenth weekend. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I am so excited about this. Friday, June 16th, at Verone Market here in Denver, in the Low-High area. I will be doing a Comeback with Erica Cobb live podcast event. It's kind of a summer kickoff event.
Love that.
It's 21 and older. My special guest is Claudia Jordan, and we know Claudia from everything from Deal or No Deal, Housewives. So she'll be coming to town. I have an opening act, Mr. Al Jackson, who is also my co-host on DBL. He is an amazing comedian. I just posted something about him today from his Comedy Central special. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So you guys come out. All of the tickets are available on Eventbrite. You can go to my social media and click the link in my bio and purchase your tickets. It's going to be lit.
Yep.
So get your tickets today, okay?
That we know. It's gonna be lit.
Isn't that just so cool before we move on? Like just watching the little kids start their podcast and then seeing you like here at this level, watching it all.
Yeah, so this is where you can be if you keep with it, keep using your voices. You can be just like Erica. All right, Erica, thank you so much for coming back to the Culture Report.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
All right.
It's always great to see you, Erica.
Absolutely.
Controversy surrounding the DeSantis administration rejection of African American studies courses has sparked criticism and advocacy groups representing Black and Latino Americans. Well, the NAACP and the League of United Latin American Citizens have strongly criticized the decision as a disservice to students and a failure to accurately represent the challenges faced by Black Americans. As a result, both organizations have issued a travel advisory citing hostility towards communities of color in Florida.
So,
Well,
I mean, you're from Florida, so.
I mean,
I'm looking right at Alexis.
Right, we're like this, like, well, so Alexis, should I go or should I not?
It's always.
I mean, I said it a few episodes ago. DeSantis and whatever he's doing does not represent Florida. You see the mayors. There's a mayor of Tampa saying you're welcome here. There's no hatred towards anyone here. There's the mayor of Orange County saying the same thing. We don't accept hate. So like, DeSantis and all the things he's doing does not represent Florida, as I mentioned before.
It feels like every episode she has to be like.
But like I have to
clarify.
defend it. Like you cannot say that one person is Florida.
No, I agree with that, and it's crazy because I'm gonna go to Florida later today. I'm gonna do research for
Just
all of us.
about to ask,
I'm gonna
will you be taking a trip?
Yeah, I'm gonna do a community trip for all of us to see. But I feel like when you issue things like this, you have to be careful because some people will really say, "I'm not traveling. I'm not going to see my family. I'm not doing that." And I think it's such a bold blanket to put around DeSantis and his administration and what they're doing.
I agree.
Yeah,
You agree with that?
You agree?
Well, I mean,
You agree with that?
I agree because. Well, people shouldn't just stop going. However, I do think it's good that they're out there saying like, "Hey, just in case y'all do decide to go, I want to educate you guys, let you guys know what you guys might be up against."
I mean, as Black folks, as queer folks, I think it's really important to operate in safe spaces.
Yeah.
And as an organization that's meant to lead Black justice and Black excellence, I think issuing this was important because like now I know if I do travel, I need to be more mindful of like the laws and the legislation in that space that's going to affect my existence. So I think this should happen.
But
they should add some states.
You should draw some attention to it too, because we don't want other states to follow in their footsteps. Like what DeSantis is doing, with Florida, it's very scary. It really is scary.
Yes.
And I've seen it in Mexico where they portray it as just this dangerous place. And yes, there are parts of it, but not the whole thing. Same thing that Alexia said. So again, it's important that it's drawing attention and not necessarily scaring people away.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, we want to know what's going on, right? Yeah. But when you're talking about African American studies, you're talking about things being taken out. This necessarily does not mean I should not travel there, right? So I'm feeling like, let's be careful with the wording here.
Well, let us know when you go on your research
I will
trip.
let you know.
Let us know how it goes.
I appreciate it.
In Puerto Rico, it's a valid U.S. government ID. Has a license in Louisiana, in Texas, Florida, Alaska. It is considered by law a valid U.S. government identification.
You've already explained that to me 2 different times. So what's the issue with their policies and you?
And that was just part of a 6-minute exchange between a Puerto Rican man and an officer at an airport in New Orleans. Humberto Marchant went to rent a car from Hertz when an employee denied his driver's license, saying it was not valid in the U.S. and said he needed a passport to rent the car. The employee eventually called police. Body camera video shows things continued to escalate before officers asked him to leave. Hertz has since apologized and refunded his booking.
This incident comes after a Puerto Rican family was recently denied service by an airline for not having a passport. The family was flying from LA to Puerto Rico with Spirit Airlines. An employee asked the family for a passport for their 2-year-old son. The family was then forced to book tickets with another airline, more expensive, and Spirit Airlines has since issued an apology to the family.
All right, obviously this is a big issue.
This is a big issue, but let's start first with a little bit of geography. So here's Puerto Rico. It's just about 1,000 miles away from Florida, first off, and Puerto Rican-born people are actually U.S. citizens. So let's find out a little bit of this history.
So, in 1898, after the Spanish War, Puerto Rico actually became part of the United States. And then in 1917, Puerto Ricans actually became U.S. citizens.
And what kind of currency do they use there? Well, this is the U.S. currency. Yep. This is the same currency that they use in Puerto Rico. And the Colorado ID is exactly the same as the Puerto Rico ID. We have the real ID star, which means it's accepted anywhere in the U.S.
Yep, if you want to go there and swipe. And then just clarify it a little bit more, he was being asked for a passport. If he were to show the passport, he was just going to have to
do this. I'm sorry, but yes, the same exact passport. And you don't need it to fly domestically. Yes. So to that note, if you were to go from, New York all the way to Hawaii, you don't need a passport. Same applies if you were to fly from Florida to Puerto Rico. So again, Puerto Rican-born people are U.S. citizens.
We love a little history lesson. All right, now a lot of this confusion we're seeing could be traced back all the way back to high school. So a study shows that most of the U.S. Latino history is left out of high school textbooks. So the study conducted by Johns Hopkins found that 87% of key Latino topics were either not covered in U.S. history books or were mentioned in just 5 sentences or less. That includes things like the Mexican-American War, Cold War politics, the Panama Canal, and of course, the U.S. acquisition of Puerto Rico. So
education is key.
Educate. My God.
That was an educational read.
And it's not like it happened yesterday. So I'm like, why is everybody so confused all of a sudden?
And do people not travel and check where they can go with or without a passport? I'm confused.
But they are citizens. They can fly domestically just like us with just an ID. So I was very, very distraught when I saw that. I'm like, my God, the discrimination that they probably felt.
Yes. And on top of that, when the officer arrived, the fact that he didn't know any better than the employee, to me was just that was triggering. Like, so what type of training are we doing?
What kind of establishment is this?
Education.
Because if she works there at the airport at that location, I'm sure she deals with.
She had to be
all the time.
How do you not know?
But you're dealing with these people every day. You're dealing with people that are traveling in and out of the airport. You should know that.
Yeah, they're gonna have to put a list out. Like, these are the IDs of America. These are the people of our country. This is ridiculous.
Oh, I know.
And it was the police officer being so condescending too. Like, what are you not understand? Like, what are you?
Like,
and it
what
was
are
so.
you not understanding?
It was like a weird satirical episode of Parks and Rec or something. I was just because he was so he was sure of himself. He was like, okay, this man is stupid. I know everything. It was very weird, and it's very odd that these people in these positions aren't educated like that. Because if that escalated, it could have gotten bad.
The stupidity is real, but we're going to be paying attention to it.
That's real.
Okay, so let's move on. Well, it looks like Spain has joined the ranks of Florida as a place that's hostile to black people, but in this case, it's a black soccer player. Vinicius Jr., a black Brazilian football player, was on the receiving end of a racist chant by Valencia football fans who chanted racial slurs towards the soccer player. Yeah. Spanish police have since arrested 3 people in connection with the racial abuse. I think this is alarming. I'm not a huge sports person, but I can't imagine being on the field, doing what I love, doing my job, and then you having people around you. Yeah. I think the chant was something about calling him a monkey. Yeah. And you know that connotation with black people has like a very deep, painful historical context.
Yeah. I think my problem with it was hearing afterwards that it's normal in soccer.
It is normal. They're used to it.
It is.
It's in the European
I experienced that in high school. Like I was the soccer manager because I'm super fit. But like I was a soccer manager in high school. Like we would be on the school bus driving home from like games and stuff. And if it'd be dark or we go under an underpass and it gets dark, they'd start yelling out this guy's name. He was African. He would start, "Where'd he go? Where'd he go?" And then when he wasn't there, they would try to say it about me, and I'd be like, "We're not doing that."
A play on his skin color.
His skin color because it was so dark.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's not new to me, at least. So I can only imagine what it's like over there.
I mean, you saw the treatment of Meghan Markle, you know? We all saw it. The whole world saw it. And it's still, nothing's changed, has it?
I know, and the director of Valencia kept saying, like, oh, well, say that our fans are racist is ridiculous. It's a misunderstanding. That's not correct.
So when you do racial slurs, what are you? You're just a great person, or what does that make you? I feel like no one should have to deal with this, but unfortunately, like you said, we are actually very used to this, right? This has become a common thought process of like, this is what happens. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to keep on moving. And so it's just really unfortunate that this is the context of how we live and how life happens. And
I think it's more scary when I see or experience blatant racism because I feel like there's always some kind of violence associated with it. And there was different videos that I saw on Twitter of him, and he was playing and crying because like he was being impacted by like hearing this chant, and it was the whole stadium. It sounded like.
And that's what I'm like. That's the unfortunate part, right? Like a couple people are being locked up for this, but not the whole stadium.
Right.
So like this is like a drop in the bucket.
But then how do you handle something like that?
Well, here in Colorado, they did have something similar with the homophobic chant that they were doing, and I know they were going to do something to the fans. I'm guessing something along the lines with like either kicking them out. I'm not sure if we ever did get a note from them, but I wouldn't mind if they kicked them out. I mean, you're chanting these racial slurs, why not?
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens.
You gotta hold them accountable.
We'll see what happens moving forward.
There we go.
So the Denver Museum of Nature and Science just announced that it's closing down its North American Indian Culture exhibit hall. Now, a letter they shared explains that the hall reinforces harmful stereotypes and white dominant culture. So museum officials say they made the decision after hearing concerns expressed by the community. So moving forward, they'll be bringing in indigenous community members to help them right their wrongs and reimagine the exhibition of indigenous culture. So,
I appreciate that.
I know. I don't know why it took so long to do it, but I mean, I feel like the indigenous people should be really the only voice there, honestly. They should be the only voices that matter there. So I don't know why they're just not thinking, oh, maybe we should switch this up.
No one gets your story right like you, right? Like your culture.
Absolutely.
And you should be able to tell your story from your perspective, from your ancestors' perspective. And so I think that we do, we really miss the mark when we allow other people to tell our stories. Because it's always going to feel white dominant when it's made by a white dominant community that makes these remarks and creates these exhibits. So it's like, hello, we should have thought about this.
Yeah, I don't think they even focused on like the scientific contributions that indigenous people made. I think it's their story, which is interesting in a science museum with no other groups. I don't know why the focus was necessarily on their history instead of their contributions. I think that's where they might have hit it wrong.
I think when that voice is removed, when the indigenous voice is removed from something that's representing their culture, stuff like that happens.
Yeah, because you'll see what's important to them, but not important to the person that they're talking about. So when someone who has a lived experience like show something, they're like, okay, I want people to see this part of our history. It might not be important to them, but it's important to them.
Absolutely. Don't do a documentary on me and ask everybody except for me about it. I'm not with it.
But do you guys think removing it is the way to go? Like, would that be something like where they're just erasing that
No,
history?
I think they should remove it and allow indigenous people and artists to come in to tell it like how it should be told through that community and whatever they believe that should look like. And so until that happens, I think it should be removed in respect to that community.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next story. So, 7 sorority members from the University of Wyoming are suing the National Kappa Kappa Gamma sorority after their local chapter accepted a transgender woman. The lawsuit, which was filed back in March, claims that accepting her violated bylaws and claims that the national organization pressured members to vote to accept her. The lawsuit seeks to void the woman's membership. Recently, the girls spoke to journalist Megyn Kelly. One girl said, quote, "Some girls live in constant fear in their home, and our home is supposed to be a safe space." And in Mississippi, a 17-year-old trans student was supposed to graduate from Gulfport High School, was told she couldn't wear a dress to the ceremony. Administrators told her she would have to wear boys' clothes. Quickly after that, her family filed a federal lawsuit demanding that their child wears what she wishes to graduation. And a day before graduation, the judge denied a motion filed by the family. So,
a lot to unpack.
We'll talk about the graduation first.
Okay.
Should she be allowed, Shay, to wear a dress?
You know what? If you've been wearing a dress all school year, I feel like when it comes to graduation, she should absolutely be allowed to, right? So you have said that I accept this in my school. These are okay on our terms. So how do we get to graduation day, the most memorial? I mean, this is the most impactful day for your family to come and celebrate you. And now I can't be who I've been all school year?
So she told CNN that she wore a dress to prom and it wasn't a problem.
Right.
Had no problem. And all of a sudden, now that she's at graduation, it's a big problem.
Right.
But she's going to be wearing the robe anyway, which is going to be hiding the whole dress.
Do you think it was an attack just because she's queer?
It's definitely an attack. And I also don't care if she's never worn a dress in her life. And if she decided that day, I want to wear a dress to my graduation as a trans person or whatever, she should have been allowed to. I think that was, it feels violent to me.
Right. Well, you know, they made a very a similar point on purpose. Another student was graduating the same time and had a different color pair of pants on, which they had said, you know, you're going to wear black pants, and the student had white pants or vice versa. And so they think that now they're making examples because of this other student. So they're trying to say, like, hey, these are our rules, and you either go with them or you don't. So I'm like, this school is like a prison.
All this rhetoric, I tell you guys, they keep hearing like all these attacks on the LGBTQ community. I just feel like now it's like they're making a statement. It feels like that, you know, with her not allowing her to do that. Like,
it also feels very violent in the case of this student in Wyoming and being allowed to enter this as a trans woman into this sorority, and then these women are speaking out saying how uncomfortable they are, and I think that's unfortunate. I think.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you on that. I feel like there should be some places that are safe, right? And they're safe. When I sign up for a sorority, it's gonna tell me that this is a gender-specific thing that's gonna happen, and this is based off of the gender that you were assigned with at birth. And you're gonna be in this home with all women, and this is what I'm signing up for. And when I read bylaws, I'm looking at bylaws, and I'm saying, okay, this works for what I want to be a part of. So then when we decide to do something different, and now I don't feel comfortable.
Not different, because get your magnifying glass.
We let this trans lady in now, right? Because we vote on this. It's not in the bylaws. Just because you vote on something that's not in the bylaws, right? So you vote on this now, and you bring this in, and you feel pressure because everybody's voting, and you don't want to seem like you have a preference on trans or not. Now you're voting this, and then you're in this environment, and you're like, I don't feel comfortable.
But that's not the case. You got to get your magnifying glass out and read the fine print, because that sorority in particular said that they accept women or like female and female identifying people. That one said female identifying people. So this trans person, whenever they were, you know, pledging to be in sorority or however you do that.
But what does it say for people to say that a trans woman in a sorority makes me uncomfortable?
I don't think it's in the sorority, it's in the home. So they were saying like, hey, I have on my towels and I'm walking around, and they were saying like the person was getting a little excited and putting pillows there to hide the excitement, and that made them uncomfortable. Now these are the things that these women are saying. So if you're now uncomfortable because now you're like, hey, I thought I was gonna be around a whole bunch of women with the same body parts as me, and now you're getting a little excited and aroused, and this doesn't feel safe to me.
Yeah, and that's valid.
That's
I want to say
point.
that is absolutely valid.
Yeah.
There should be safe spaces for people.
But
I think the behavior is the issue, not the person.
This also reminds me very much
the behavior.
This very much reminds me of Emmett Till. This white lady accused him.
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
You have a white woman accused
Go
this black teenager of sexually harassing her.
Whistling
and yes, and which turned out not to be true.
Right.
And this man, this little boy, I believe he was younger than 16, was killed, like lynched.
Yeah.
And so you have these, I watched the video that the sorority posted, and they constantly referred to the trans woman as they kept misgendering her specifically. Yeah. So like for me, we haven't seen this person speak out, this woman, this trans woman speak out, but if those things that they said are true, I think, yes, there needs to be safe parameters for women, trans women included, cis women included, to exist safely in there. But it also, like, it speaks to, like, the violence of cisgender women in that relationship with trans women.
It's a lot, and I think when you get to sororities, there's just so many things that, you know, you live by this code and you die by this code, and it's a sisterhood and it's this unbreakable thing. So when you start adding in different elements, I think you have to go back to the drawing board and say, like, how, if we're gonna make this inclusive, how do we do that?
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear from this person, like what their side of it is too, but it just, I don't know, it hits wrong when you're like, what happens to inclusivity then? I mean, you know, I feel like they're pushing this person out. I don't know. Something just doesn't feel. It's very sad. It just.
But it's something that we're gonna, you know, keep watching and hopefully come back to. We'll see what happens. So let's hop into the good news of the week. So a classic black story is coming back to the big screen. The trailer for a new take of the beloved film, The Color Purple, just dropped, and the cast is star-packed. The new adaptation follows the original 1985 film and is based on the stage play. The new musical, which features Taraji P. Henson, Danielle Brooks, Fantasia Barrino, and Halle Bailey, will be released Christmas 2023.
All right, could you imagine being 12 years old and having 5 degrees under your belt? Well, Clovis Hong doesn't have to. The 12-year-old from California just graduated Fullerton College with 5 associate degrees. Hong was only 9 years old when he enrolled at the community college as part of a special admin program. He set the record as the college's youngest graduate.
Love that.
And it's an exciting time to be a Nuggets fan. For the first time ever, the Nuggets are going to the NBA Finals after a thrilling 113-111 win over the Lakers in Game 4. And even though the game was played in LA, thousands of fans gathered at Ball Arena for a Nuggets watch party where they celebrated the big win. Game 1 of the NBA Finals is on June 1st.
Right, and Beyonce just released a list of people currently working on her Renaissance World Tour. I'm sorry that I have to bring up Beyonce again, y'all, but Kobe and Vanessa Bryant's daughter, Natalia, was listed as an intern. So right now, Natalia is a student at the University of Southern California, as well as a model. She stays booked and busy, and I love that for her.
We love to see it. It's a good way to get through grief, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so now the unemployment rate for black people is at its lowest in history. In May of 2020, it did spike during the COVID pandemic. The rate scored to a 16.8%. But now, as of April 2023, the unemployment rate for black people has reached 4.7%. I love that. Doesn't mean we have the best jobs, but we're working.
We work and we get the job done.
Progress, we take progress.
We love that. I'm so excited for like all this. Like we have so much good news. I mean, especially The Color Purple.
Yes, Color Purple.
Halle is also booked and busy.
Yes.
I already have my ticket. Like I said, tomorrow night I will be there.
I might go with you.
Oh, let's
go.
There we go.
I invited, if you go back to the Culture Report episode 12, I said everyone, I will buy everyone's ticket. Okay.
Oh, we're all going.
Okay, so we all going. So, but this week we want you to join the conversation, and as we prepare for Pride Month, so email us at culturereport@9news.com and let us know, how do you celebrate LGBTQ plus Pride?
All right, thanks for joining this episode of the Culture Report. We'll be back to continue the conversation next Thursday right here on our free 9 News Plus app and 9news.com.